Recording. All right. So here are the drawings that people did for the step bushings. And so when we're looking at these, there's two main kind of things we want to look at. One is the drawing views. What views did they use? How are they arranged? And that kind of thing. And then also we want to look at dimensions, right? Which dimensions were picked, but also what other thing for dimensions? We want to pay attention to which ones we use, but also what?
Not number constraint.
Yeah, but where we put them, right? We want to be able to, or do we pick the right dimensions? Do we put them on the right views? And so just to do a quick review of that, here's the part that it gave us. And so in view selection, we've got some guidelines on the views are for inspection of the part, or the drawings themselves are for inspection of the part. We want to have as few views as possible. We want to see holes where they're round, and we want to use an appropriate scale, and we want clarity for the drawing. So we want some white space to kind of separate things so that way it's easy to see what things are, right? So I'm not going to go through all this, but based on the number of views, for cylindrical things, usually if it's got a cylindrical thing with a hole in it, usually 2 views is good for that, right? And then, so let's just look at views first on these. What do you see? First, is all the geometry correct? No. Right, this one? That's not the shape of the part, right? And so that's one of the problems we encounter sometimes if we have a drawing that doesn't have dimensions correctly. Because if you don't look at the parts, you just look at that drawing, it looks like it's flat, right? What should it have on it to tell you that the part is round? Diameter symbols. That would tell you this thing is round. So even though we had pictures of the part down here, because they didn't have the diameter symbols, it's easy to overlook something like that. You might think, oh, that's obvious, but really, it means a lot, right? So that's why we want to make sure that even when we have our drawing, we don't overlook doing simple things like that. So I'm going to take that one out of here. Even though this view is pretty good, but we're just going to take that out. So what do you think about these other ones? Was there a kind of, what about paper size for this part?
One is too crunched up. It should have been.
So yeah, we have a few that did A size title blocks and some that did B size title blocks, right? Is there a big difference in the use of the paper on those?
Because you have more clarity. Like, the more clarity, the more dimensions pop out.
And so some of them, like this one, there's a lot of white space, but it's kind of crowded. But let's say between this one and this one, or these, this is a B size, that's an A size. The views themselves are, now that I've scaled them down to the same size, they're about the same size and about the same use of the paper, right? So it doesn't matter which one we use at this point for this. Are the A's, so there's some A's that are a little bit more crowded, some that are a little less, and there's some B's that there's a lot more white space, and then some that the paper is kind of used differently. So is there a big difference on this part from an A to a B size? Not really. And so either one would be okay. Kind of depends on where your working likes to do things. Some places say, yeah, make it on the smallest piece of paper. Some places, no, we're only using B's, but we'll print them out on an A-size sheet so it's more portable, but it's still readable. So I just did that for the welding department on some drawings for them. What does change though when we're going from an A to a B size? What's a big difference on the sheet? What do you mean? Yeah, so the divisions are a little bit different. But let's see, just look at these two. Right now I've kind of scaled them to the same size. What's a big difference between these two drawings? Just without the views, just what? Yeah, the size of the title block. On an A size, the title block takes up almost a third of the page, right? On a B size, it takes up a lot less proportionally. Even though it's the same size when it's printed full size, proportionally it's smaller. So you have a little bit more real estate to work with for your views and things. And so that's kind of a thing to think about when you're picking paper size. So right now we're kind of going to leave that alone and look more at the content of the views. So got a few different layouts of views. Are there any that are laid out incorrectly? This one? Oh, this one? Is that incorrect? So there's no isometric view. Is an isometric view a requirement? No, it's not. It's there for clarity. So it's usually a useful thing to have. Could this have been rearranged a little bit to add an isometric? Probably. That would help with clarity. But it's not wrong. Oh, yeah, no title block information. We need those block tolerances. So, but any other ones where the orientation or layout of the views is incorrect? Yeah, so this one right here, this is not the correct orientation for the views, right? I can't, if I came straight down from here, this would be turned 90 degrees. And so we want to make sure that when we create that, we have our base view, we always project to get the other views. And we leave them on the side that they're projected onto. You don't make a new base view somewhere else on it. And this is also a problem that happens if you have one view and then you rotate the view, because it doesn't affect the other one. And so that's why I changed the template this year to having just the base view. So we can fix that one how you want it and then create views from that. So we want to make sure that we keep things in the correct orientation when we're doing it. Any others that are incorrect? Upper left? This one? No, because they've got it on the section, but the orientation is correct. Because looking at it from the side, those are hidden lines. So the orientation is correct. It'd be nicer if it was on the other side. Right? It would be nicer if that view was on the other side. So there were visible lines instead. So that's kind of and so same thing with these here. That it would have been nicer if the round view was on the other side. That would turn these two hidden lines into solid lines, right? What? Yeah, they're all. So there's correct and there's more or less good, right? So all of these are laid out correctly, and so it's really a decision of what is better, what is more clear, what is more preferred.
Which one's the question on?
We're not going to ask that of me yet. So let's talk. Any others that have extra? Are there any that have extra views that we don't need? Yeah, this one has basically the same views as this plus an extra one, right? Everything that's on this view could easily be on this view, right? And so that means this view isn't needed. So I'd probably take those, just like this one did, make this the section view. But also, what about layout? So we have some that are laid out vertically and some that are laid out horizontally. Which ones fit the paper better? for this part. For this part, the horizontal layout fits better, right? If the part was real long and skinny, maybe having them vertically would be better. They'd use the paper a little bit better, and they wouldn't be kind of crammed into the corner of the title block, or having to reduce the size to make them fit. And so it's always a thing of which views are going to fit better. So when you're making your drawings, start with that base view of which view do I want first, and then try out a few different options. Try it to the side, try it below, because it takes 2 clicks to make a view, right? So add them in and see what fits better on the paper, and not just like, okay, I'm doing this one and I'm stuck there. It doesn't take a lot of time to just take that, delete it, add a new view. So take a couple seconds and like which way works better for this drawing, for this part, because every part is different. So for me, I'd probably go a horizontal view. And so from that, we've got like all of these in the top row. This one here are all horizontal. Definitely probably put this view on the other side, kind of like this. So this is probably how I would do it. What about a section? Is a section needed on this part? So these two are basically the same, except for the section. Does it hurt? No, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't really help. So either way is okay. If there's more complex things going on inside, or if you needed to mention anything inside of that hole, then yeah, section would be a really good thing to have. But as it is, it doesn't really affect it either way. And so that's one of the things that, like, it says, don't do too much. Keep it simple. But yeah, it doesn't hurt, and it took an extra 2 clicks to make the section, right? So it's not a big deal, or 3 clicks. So any other questions or comments on the view layouts? What about the isometrics? This one's looking at it from the big side. This one's looking at it from the small side. This one's from the small side stacked. Which layout do you like from the isometric better? This one? Or this one? Okay. Oh yeah, so this one's looking towards the left, this one's looking towards the right. Any other thoughts? You want to, like, any other ones better, or it doesn't matter?
I like the third one.
Third one from the left. This one?
No, that's
Okay, well these two are the same, yeah. So I kind of like the scale here, depending on what the size of the other views is. I would say probably like either any one of these 3. I like looking at it from the small side because you can see this little boss here. This one you can't really see it. So remember, you can always just double click on the isometric and pick a different corner to look at, or you can reproject it differently. Yep.
your representation of this. Which one? You.
We'll get to how I would do it later.
Okay.
I want to see what you guys say without looking at what I did. All right, so we've got that. Now we got views selected, and that's what I always do. First thing through, I make my drawings. So I use a template, make a sheet for each of the drawings. Then I go through and create the views. Just like we did on the exercise, make the views first, get them all adjusted, and then I go back through and do all the dimensioning. Okay, so now let's start looking there. So as a refresher, let's look at the dimensioning rules. So remember, I have my 6 dimensioning rules. Can you break any of these?
Or you said you break them.
Yeah, you can break the bottom 2. That's it. Those are the only 2 you're allowed to break in order. What's the part envelope?
Given.
Yeah, if you just make it into a rectangle, that's the envelope. And so let's go to these. So are there any that are dimensioned in the envelope? It's getting kind of close, isn't it? That's in the envelope. The 370. It's lined up with the edge of the part. Any other ones? No. No, everything else looks. Oh, this one. Right here. As well as this one. Both these are both in the envelope. And you see that because it's there, it's looking smashed together, right? And that's why we want to stay outside the envelope. We want to keep things away from each other so they're not crossing over each other. Is this one breaking any other rules? Yeah, so it's crossing a dimension line, right? Don't cross dimension lines. If I look right here, the dimension line for this goes right here, right? And this one is going right through that. So even though there's no actual line there, it's going through where the line would be, right? And so that's breaking that rule. Okay? So the rules are there to make sure things are spaced out and it's easier to see what's going on. What about some good options? Or what about the circles? Let's talk about the circles. Where should the cylinders be dimensioned? Yeah, on the side view. So where they're seen rectangular, right? So on this view where we see it rectangular, we want those dimensions to be there. The holes get dimensioned where they're round. Anything wrong with these? No diameter symbols. Anything else? Now that I'm kind of looking at it. Layout wise.
Autonomous is cut off.
Let's look at these two. Those two views. Same. So, oh, actually, that one's kind of smashed in there too. Yeah, they're all kind of smashed in there. But which one of these looks a little bit more organized? The left one. Why does it look more organized? It has a diameter symbol. They're kind of even spacing, right? Except for this top piece, like this way looks pretty good, mostly. Except for this, where it's just running into each other. But up here, it's kind of smashed again, right? Same thing down here, it's kind of smashed. So we want to be able to have some equal spacing and space things out from each other. Which one looks the best with spacing? I know you can't read the dimensions, but look at where the lines are. I made it small on purpose. Top right. This one? Look at that. What about that? So there's some good spacing here. Of course, I'm missing diameter symbols still. But here we're still smashed together down here, right? And that happened a lot on, I think everybody just kind of smashed things together. You guys got you've got all this space and just smash them in there. No, because we want to be outside the part envelope. So, like this one is really kind of brings it up a little bit here. But this one should be where? On the right side over here. Same thing. This one could. If we look at this space and the space to the first dimension, it should be the same or about the same. So we should go out from the part that's about the same distance to get to that first dimension on all sides. And then keep that spacing. What is that space supposed to be? From the part to the first dimension. It's 3/8 to 1/2 inch after it's printed. And between dimensions should be about 3/8 to ½ inch. Is there anything in Fusion to help you know where that is? Aren't there little snaps that happen when you're dragging your dimensions? Yeah. So, and like here, it snapped to 3/8 from that point. But if you bring it out a little bit more, there'll be another snap here. So set to your first snap and then stay on the snaps after that. And that'll keep things even. And I'm not measuring them. So as long as it looks good, that's what matters. You know, in AutoCAD, yeah, we can make it exactly a certain distance away. Or draw by hand, we can make it exactly. In the solid modeling programs, Fusion, Inventor, SolidWorks, we can't tell it to be exactly a thing. We can go by the snaps, though, so that way it stays even. And so that's something to think about. On this one, though, somebody put their name under the project instead of the name thing. So make sure you guys do that part correctly. What about any other thoughts on dimensions? Anyone that broke any of my dimensioning rules besides any of the higher ones? So anyone break any of these dimensions? These rules? Are there any views that don't have any dimensions? No? That's good. Anyone dimension hidden lines? Yep, right here, right? And over dimensioned, because they put the dimension there. Oh no, they didn't. They didn't do it there. So actually, this one's not over dimensions. Just these ones should be over there, but they dimensioned the head line. Any other ones? I thought there was another one. Anyone over dimension? Actually, no. I think you. Oh, here. Remember, out of those 4 dimensions, we only need 3. So, which 3 should you use?
Going up the point, overall would be critical.
How do you know what's important? So when you're just given a part like this, you don't know what's important, right? And so that's why, like book assignments, you just go by whatever it tells you usually. Now this one where it told you too much, you're gonna have to guess. So usually we want to keep the overall, and then we just take out one of these based on what's important. Is it more important for how much sticks up here, how tall this is, or how much still remains here? We don't know because we don't know what this part is for, but you're just gonna have to guess. It'd probably be this and this, or this and this. I don't think it would be the 3.7 and the 1.45. I don't think that those would be two of the critical things. Either how much sticks out inside of the hole can vary, or how much sticks up above can vary. But that 0.075 is probably the thing they care about. So I would keep that one and then take off either one of these. It also could be that all 3 of these are important, and this is just telling us, like, for just to let the machinist know this is what the overall is. So is there a way we can still keep this one but not have it be an inspected dimension?
Put it in parentheses.
Yep. So we can put it in parentheses and say, this is for reference. I care about these numbers. You have to hit these numbers to the tolerances. And just so you know how long this part is, so you don't have to do the math, this is what it is. And so that one, so if you put it in parentheses, then you say, okay, don't worry about, like, this is not the one to inspect. Inspect the other 3. But you let the machinist know, make sure you cut your stock longer than this. Okay? Any other questions on these? Yes, no, no?
On the third one.
Third one to the left, which
the
one?
last one at the very,
This one?
yeah. Machine one.
Okay, I'll ask the question. What do you guys think? Any problems with this one? No, it's not overdimensioned. It does need diameter symbols right here, though, right?
What about the size?
That's fine. You know, some layout might, you know, it's not too bad. This one is way off to the side, though. Like, these are all, like, look how far that is away, and then look how far that one is. And where should the diameter symbol be? To the left, right? Before the number, not after. And if we're dimensioning a hole or an arc, where should the arrow point, the leader arrow point?
Center.
At the center. Is this pointing at the center? No. So that should be pointing at it here. If it's connected there, it needs to go here. If the dimension is over here, it needs to connect lower. And that's the one thing I don't like about Fusion is if you use the whole note, it adds a leader that doesn't automatically point to the middle. And so you just have to manually adjust it. Or use a regular dimension, and then it'll always point at the center. And you can just add in whatever text you need. And so it's just a whole, just don't use the whole note. Use the whole note mainly if it's threads or if it's a counterbore or countersink when you need that extra note. If it's just a straight hole, just use a regular diameter dimension. All right, you ready to see mine? That's how I would do it. And actually, you see, I chose not to do the step. I forgot how I did it. But look at right here. Instead of being this, which makes it hard to read, offset it a little bit. Now it makes it easy to read. It doesn't just run on into one big thing of text. But the spacing from the part to the first dimension, part to the first dimension, part to the first dimension, part to the first dimension is equal all the way around. And then, even though it's not the exact same spacing there and there, because of the text, it looks the same. It looks balanced.
How come your circles allowed to be
What?
your leader?
That it is. It's pointing at the center.
Oh, I thought you meant like that it like physically had to be in contact.
No,
with the center,
no, it needs to be
like
pointed
it's
towards the center. It's pointed towards the center. It's not, and because I use the regular dimension, it's no matter where I move it, it's going to be pointed. If I use the whole command, now it's not. But I could easily grab it and drag it till it's centered, or if it's up here, grab this point and drag it until it's pointed at the center. But by using this one, the regular dimension, it's automatically going to point no matter where. Okay, so that's how I would do it. Even because it went to the A size, there's not space for the notes down here, so I stick it here.
That was another. So nothing matches like sharp. For the thread. Thank you, right?
It's right there. It says.
Yeah, but
I mean, on the assignment.
yeah, on the assignment.
These are general notes for everything.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So every single part, you always break corners, and that just means that when it's cut, it's going to have a sharp 90-degree corner, and if you pick it up, you're going to slice your hand. So a standard practice is deburring, where they use a little, basically a scraping tool, and they just scrape the edges real quick, just to knock off the corner so you don't get cut picking the parts up. A lot of times it's done by hand. More often now, especially with 5-axis CNCs and everything, they'll run it when they'll just do a quick little shiny chamfer, like 0.05 inches around all the edges of the part. So it's done when it comes, and it's clean when it comes out of the machine. But that's a thing on everything. And threads, yeah, this part doesn't have any threads, but it doesn't hurt just to leave the note. Sometimes it'll be here, sometimes it'll be in the title block. I just decided to have it as a separate note. And this is also where if you have mirrored components, like on the clamp, left side shown, right side mirror image. you look back to the sample drawings, that those have it has that note a lot of times. I don't want to draw both the left and the right side version.
During the machine assembly, you would put in notes, this is right side.
On the part file. Yep. Yep. So, any questions on anything I did there? Why I did it? All right.